Hello everyone, it's Mr. Wolfe here, and in this video I'm going to be introducing how we could use models to explain and predict in the context of our unit on biomolecules and enzymes. So if you're watching this video, there's multiple possible things. One is you are in my 7th period class and my screen froze, and this is my way of kind of introducing this. And if that's the case, by the way, just make sure that you complete the second page, pages 3 and 4, for Tuesday, October 13th. All right, but this is me introducing how to go about doing those models, so you can use this video and this information to help you out with the homework. Or it's very possible that you are just watching this because you want a refresher and you want a little bit of guidance and support in completing the homework or going back and completing any models you might be working on in this unit. So let's get started. I just want to first start off by modeling in like a basic enzyme reaction, all right, just to kind of get a foundation. So in this case, I'm going to say, okay, the biomolecule in question is, if I look at this biomolecule, this looks to me like a lipid. And you're like, Mr. Wolfe, how do you know that? Just look at my bioconcept sheet. This isn't filled out, but yours should be. And you should have a drawing of a lipid that looks right here that looks exactly like this. So I know that I'm dealing with a lipid. And the molecule may be, is it going to be built or broken down? Well, here it's in its polymer form, so it would, if this is a reaction, it would be broken up afterwards. So this would be broken down. Now notice how I say may, because in some situations, the reaction will not occur. We have to use our biological knowledge to critically think about what would happen in a reaction. So then, now that we've answered and gotten grounded with these questions, below, model how the reaction would take place, make sure to label the following. So I know that this is my enzyme. All right, this is my substrate, which is just any reactant when it comes to enzyme reactions. And my active site, well, that's that section where my substrate binds. So active site. And so I'm going to say enzyme, active site, substrate. Those are done. Ooh, specific name of polymer. So I know this is a lipid, and again, if I'm not sure, I could go back to this sheet, and it should say that the specific name of a polymer is going to be, for polymer for fat, would be, for a lipid, would be fat. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to use this information to help draw what would happen in the rest of this reaction. For this initial model, it's a fairly simple thing, where I'm like, okay, here's my enzyme, here's my substrate. It looks like the substrate could fit perfectly into that enzyme, so I'm going to draw that. Doesn't have to be a perfect drawing. Mine's not. All right, and that's it. So, okay, it's like, all right, well, now it's going to fit during the reaction into the enzyme. So now we have to think about, well, what would happen afterwards? Well, if this is an enzyme that's breaking down a molecule, once it attaches to the active site, my substrate is going to break into, in this case, the monomer parts. So these are going to be my products. All right, so now I can check this off the list. And I already have the specific name of my polymer over here. Really, the only thing I'm missing is the specific name of my monomer. So again, if this is a fat, I could go back to my sheet and say, like, okay, well, what are the monomers of fats? And they are glycerol and fatty acids. All right. And that's really that's kind of our baseline of how to go about modeling. Now, I will say is that the reason why we use models as scientists is less of just drawing just like these random scenarios and using it to explain certain types of phenomena that we observe. So for instance, I could have the question, does high temperature affect how enzymes react? All right. And better yet, it would more be of how does, right? Because does temperature affect how enzymes react? Well, we kind of know that. We planned an experiment for it, and we actually took data on it a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, and we got a graph like this, where when temperature increases, the enzyme activity does go up, but then all of a sudden it just plummets. So I'm curious about, like, right around here, like this high temperature where it's really low activity. Why does that happen? All right. So better yet, why does high temperature affect how enzymes react? All right. So I'm just going to get situated here just like I did up there, where the biomolecule in question it's the same one as before, so a lipid, and it's all together, so it's my fat molecule, so it's going to be broken down if this reaction occurs. So here's a little bit of new biological knowledge that's going to be really important to know, is that here's an enzyme, but heat causes an enzyme shape to change like we see below. So really what it does is it kind of like deforms and causes the protein, the enzyme, to unfold. So that's what I have right here. So just by knowing that I've my molecule drawn like this, I could assume that I'm at a high temperature right here. And if I didn't have anything drawn yet, and I knew that this was at a high temperature, I would know to not draw my enzyme like this, but to draw it all deformed like this. So just like before, I'm going to start to label things, where here are my substrates, or my just one substrate. This is my enzyme, right? And specifically, this is fat. And now I am going to just use my knowledge and just kind of thinking of cause and effect to go through in time what's going to happen next, what's going to happen during the reaction. So here's my enzyme. I'm going to try to draw it kind of deformed like it is here as best as I can. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to say, all right, well, it's going to attach to the active site. So I'm going to draw my trapezoid here, my fatty acid. I'm going to try to get it to fit, but you'll notice it's not going to fit perfectly. And it won't. Man, this is not the best drawing. But that's okay. You don't have to draw the best drawing either. So it doesn't fit great. So that to think, all right, well, if it's not fitting into my active site, what's going to happen next? Again, I'm going to draw my deformed enzyme. Right? It's really just going to kind of like bounce off. Nothing's really going to happen. And my molecule is still going to be connected because there was nothing to speed up the process of it breaking apart into its monomer units. So this is going to be, I guess you could say this is your product. But it's not really, like the reaction didn't happen. So if the reaction doesn't happen, maybe I could draw, like I could write product up here, right? And cross that out because it really didn't happen, but at least I'm aware that I may have needed to use it. Substrate is what I have. Enzyme I still have labeled. My active site, again, there's no active site. It doesn't really fit well. So I would either do nothing or I could write active site and just cross it out, just so I know, hey, there's no active site that exists right now. And in terms of my specific name of my polymer, well, I have that for fat, and then my specific name for my monomer, well, again, this didn't break apart, so there's no monomer units. And it says, make sure to label the following if they're present. So you don't have to write all these if they're not present. Now, if they are, you absolutely have to do, but there's no monomers in this instance. All right, so again, hopefully this was helpful to kind of see how we can model out these different reactions. All right. More specifically, when it comes to things like this, where we have a special situation, and we're like, okay, based on this, what's happening initially, let's go through cause and effect. Would this reaction occur or not in this case? So it's going to be the same thing for your homework on this worksheet. All right. Can we reuse old enzymes? So here's the reaction that I've just modeled out already. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this enzyme that's already worked, right? We're going to put it over here, and then we're going to bring in new substrates. Right? And we're going to see, would the reaction occur? Again, just use your knowledge of structure and function to see what would happen and reason through what would happen. Right? And then over here, will the lactase enzyme work on protein? It's better yet to say amino acids because these are the monomer units right here. All right? So based on what we see here with structure and function, what's going to happen during and after the reaction? So that is the homework for that's going to be due Tuesday, October 13th. Thank you for watching.